this because, I saw you get a little flack because you vetoed a measure to create a commission to study potential slavery reparations in the state of Maryland. But to me, you had a valid reason if people actually heard your whole statement.
Exactly. I mean, listen, what I said was, I'm a person of action. I don't need more studies. Mm-hmm. I mean, like we've done 4 studies over the past 20 years on similar type of elements.
One of 7.
So 4 studies over the past 20 years.
Okay.
By the way, one of which my wife worked on.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
And so when we're now talking about doing a 2-year study on something that I already know the answer to, I'm like, what are we studying? Mm-hmm. And this was my point. I think about the work, and again, I'm not saying that this issue was not worth working on. In fact, frankly, I've been working very closely with the members of our caucus and members of the community around a whole series of these issues. It's the reason that we just authorized $400 million for our Just Community Initiative, which made sure that we're putting $400 million of additional capital into communities that have been the subject and have been truly hurt by racist and discriminatory policies, things like redlining, things like mass incarceration, things like mass highway constructions, which were cutting off neighborhoods, that we said we are going to identify all those communities and neighborhoods, and we're starting off with just $400 million that's going specifically to those neighborhoods to address the racist policies of the past. It's the reason that we've done things like historic investments in our HBCUs, because they've been historically neglected and pulled back on. Maryland has 4 remarkable HBCUs. We're putting historic investment back into them. It's the reason we've done things like the mass pardons and giving people a second chance at life, because who do people think that is going to benefit most? It's the reason that we've done things like procurement reform and created black millionaires inside of the state of Maryland. I am unapologetic about the support for our black community, for the support for black people who oftentimes have been the fabric and the backbone for so much of our society. And I know right now, when we are watching this assault on our communities, when we're watching, the Trump administration now is end up firing more black women than we have seen in a generation, that we have now seen our insurance being pulled away, grants going to entrepreneurs, that everything that is connected to diversity, equity, inclusion, that they are making illegal. We don't need a 2-year study right now, man. Mm-hmm. I need action. I need action. And so that was the point that we were trying to make, is that in this time, in this crisis moment, I don't need a study.
Mm-hmm. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Folks, in Maryland, Governor Wes Moore, of course, the nation's lone black governor, issued 23 vetoes today, and one of those includes a reparations bill. This is the Washington Post story, came down about an hour ago. He vetoed, this is what they say, Maryland Governor Wes Moore on Friday vetoed a bill that would have required the state to define the economic harms to black descendants of enslaved people and recommend remedies, dealing a blow to reparations supporters who counted on the only black governor of a U.S. state to be an ally. The veto of the reparations study was the highest profile of 24 vetoes. Moore issued late Friday, the most the governor and rising Democratic star has fought back against the democratically controlled legislature during his 2.5 years in office. This, of course, is big news, and trust me, it was not well received by the Maryland Black Caucus. This was the statement that they released at a time when the White House and Congress are actively targeting black communities, dismantling diversity initiatives, and using harmful coded language. Governor Moore had a chance to show the country and the world that here in Maryland, we boldly and courageously recognize our painful history and the urgent need to address it. Instead, the state's first black governor chose to block this historic legislation that would have moved the state toward directly repairing the harm of enslavement. They said we are elected. Let me go over here. They said we are elected leaders in the state that enslaved renowned abolitionists Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, and we convene in a state house that is less than a mile from the Annapolis City dock one of the nation's earliest and most high-traffic ports of enslavement. We owe this bill to those who endured forced labor and all black Marylanders impacted by enslavement, discrimination, and its long-term harm. As federal efforts to erase our history and attack the most vulnerable continue, Marylanders need decisive, courageous action at the state level. And so this is that statement. They also said the bill, which passed by an overwhelming majority in the House and Senate, was crafted to bring together leaders, impacted residents, and experts to study and make recommendations on reparations in Maryland. While unilateral executive actions and piecemeal legislation addressing disparities can contribute to progress, they cannot substitute meaningful, sustained, and comprehensive efforts commissioned in this bill to address reparations and repair. Now, Governor Moore said that the actions that he is taking as governor are going to address the issues that they have outlined. He also, this is from the Washington Post story, Moore said, given the state's economic problems, he was focused on laws that help the state recover from the severe impact of the Trump administration's federal spending cuts. I was very transparent with the leadership and members of the General Assembly that anything that fails to meet the urgency of this moment, I will not sign it and must wait for another time. Moore said in an interview calling the reparations study the most challenging of his veto decisions. The article says Moore said he's ready to engage in conversations about repairing the legacy of slavery now, and he doesn't need to wait 2 years for the Reparations Commission to draft a study. Michael Imhotep, your response.
Well, here's the thing. Number one, I have a little bit of experience in this field. I actually did a presentation for the Detroit Reparations Task Force here March 2nd, 2024. Now, I'm going to tell you the same thing I told them and the same thing I say on numerous shows and the African History Network show. I would not put the term reparations on anything that you actually want to get past, especially if a lot of people that got to vote for it are white. But even if they're black, and the reason why is I'm all for repairing the damage of a legacy of slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, all that. I'm all for that. But what happens is a lot of these efforts get attacked, undermined, imploded, and you get a lot of people who walk away disheartened. Now, one thing he did say is that he was already enacting policies and quote unquote a culture of repair to remedy the harms of slavery. This is from the Washington Post article that you're reading from as well. So what I would focus on and what I encourage people to focus on is the structural inequities that exist right now in Maryland, California, whatever it is, and deal with the laws and policies that were put in place that created those structural inequities and trace that back to slavery, trace that back to Jim Crow, et cetera, and deal with repairing those structural inequities. But I saw a previous article 6 days ago from thegrill.com about this, and I'm someone who focuses on actually being able, not focusing on studies, but actually getting policies put in place that are beneficial for African Americans that will withstand legal challenges when you get sued to overturn it. I'm focused on the end game.
Morgan.
Yeah, I mostly agree with that. I do think a study, as the policymaking process tends to go, is usually the first step in any. If anything's going to become a law, you've got to have some kind of study that the government's done to check the box. But yeah, I generally agree. It's like we all kind of know the history. I think the fact that this was a study that would have been focused specifically on Maryland makes it a little bit more sense than, some of the national bills that have called for a federal study. I think there is a pretty broad understanding generally of the issue. But look, I mean, this is a situation is Wes Moore has higher ambitions than being the governor of Maryland. If he wants to someday run for something else like president of the United States, then he probably doesn't want this on his record. And I imagine that is a factor in why he decided to include this in his vetoes.
Derek.
Yeah, listen, I guess I'm going to come from a different perspective, being a state legislator and being one that have a reparations bill right here in Georgia. It didn't get any action, Roland. because I did use the word reparation. And the reason why I use the word reparation, slightly disagreeing with my dear friend Michael, is that Abraham Lincoln created reparation. He created reparation in April of 1862. And they didn't just use it once, but they used it twice. And so without seeing the entire legislation that Wes Moore vetoed, I think we need to use the word reparation. And when you think about the grand scheme of things, as I tell my Republican friends, there's no difference between reparation and tax cuts. There's no difference. When government take in the money, Roland, and then redistribute. And so we just passed this huge tax cut here in Georgia. And then you got the federal government right now looking to pass another tax cut. And so tax cuts and reparation in my world are synonymous. And so I know a lot of folks try to shun away from the word. I'm not sure why, for example, California, they killed their own reparations bill. I'm still boggled around that. New York.
They killed their bill because the governor gave a head nod that he was going to veto it. So they pulled the bill, which is stupid. You pass the bill and you force him to veto it.
You force him to veto. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Roland, can I respond? Can I interject?
Yeah, go ahead.
My dear friend Derek, I won't hold it against you, but you talked about Abraham Lincoln. So you're talking about the Compensated Emancipation Act of April 16th, 1862, which passed Congress and it abolished slavery in Washington, D.C. That was spearheaded by a man who became Senator Henry L. Wilson, if I remember correctly. And what that was they were abolishing, that was really designed to abolish slavery in the District of Washington, D.C., and also compensate the slaveholders. OK, so that wasn't Lincoln's idea. But when we talk about, well, I'm somebody who not just studies history, but has also been involved in writing public policy in the city of Detroit. And I focus on actually getting policy put in place. 1, 2, structuring it so you withstand legal challenges, because they're going, any of these, just like with Evanston, Illinois, from my understanding, and Roland, you've had Robin Ruth Simmons here on the show. I've interviewed her twice on the African History Network show. When you talk to Robin, she said they structured their reparations program to withstand legal challenges because they knew they were coming. So a lot of people focus on, and I'm not saying you are saying this, Derek, but I've been involved in this for some time. A lot of people focus on cut the check, and don't understand, one, at the federal level, race-based policies are illegal at the federal level. Okay, that's Title VI of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, Section 601, non-discrimination, federally assisted programs. 2, a lot of states have various laws that ban race-based programs. California was one of them, which is why the California Reparations Task Force, they structured theirs based upon lineage, having to trace your ancestry back to someone who was either the descendant of slavery or came to the U.S. prior to 1900, because they knew, you talked to Camila Moore, who's an attorney, who was the chair. Camila Moore said they knew they were going to be challenged in court. So when we deal with this, and I think it's also important to understand, we have to go after low-hanging fruit, because we're in a even more anti-black climate, where you had the $2.2 billion that was given to black farmers, okay, under the Biden-Harris administration. That got attacked. We know it was $5 billion before that, farmers of color, including black farmers, in the American Rescue Plan. That got stopped by groups like Stephen Miller's group, who's a senior advisor to Trump right now. Go ahead.
Derek?
Yeah, but it only got stopped because it involved giving black people money.
It got stopped because it's challenged in court, yes. But wait
a minute, Michael. So if you go back to 1862,
yes.
The only reason why I use Abraham Lincoln because he was the president. But 1862, April 18, when he gave $300 per slave owner, they were all white men.
No, there's about six black slave owners in Washington, D.C. that also filed petitions, and they got reparations as well. Go ahead.
Hold on. But majority of the population,
correct,
$300 per slave, were white European men. And then they turned around 4 months later, Congress said, hey, we're going to give you land too. So if you're a white European man, we're going to give you 160 acres. The only thing
the Homestead Act.
Only thing you need to do, that's right, the Homestead Act. Only thing you need to do is live on this land, use this land, till this land, and you got 160 acres. Which
pay the taxes.
Which was about $5. But that 160 acres amassed to 271 million acres of land in the United States.
Yeah, and they gave away land for 124 years up until 1976. I teach this history. I'm familiar with it. The Homestead Act.
The demographics, my dear friend, they were white men.
Of course. Of course.
So if the court of law is going to say you can't give money to black people, but you turn around right now, if they pass this tax cut, this tax bill, the top 1%, what's the number of population of the ethnicity and race of the top 1%?
Probably 90% white. Oh no, I understand that, but when we talk about legal challenges,
Morgan, do you want Morgan? Do you want any part of this?
Well, here's what I would say: is the fundamental thing is if we're in a position now, to me, is if we're in a position where we have only one black governor in the entire United States of America, and he's not even willing, because Michael, I consider a study defining economic harm for Maryland as pretty low-hanging fruit. If you're not willing to support that, God help us.
Because, but here's the thing,
right?
Here's the thing.
I mean, studies, like, what have we been talking about?
Studies and actually implementing law are implementing policies that are beneficial. And
but Michael, wait a minute, Michael, hold up.
Yeah.
All across the country, cities, counties, school boards, they've done disparity studies.
Yes, harm reports, things like that.
First, to show from when it comes to contracts, and then created a program based upon the study. So to Morgan's point, what's the big deal with a study going forward, but as the governor, you still do the things you say you're doing? Why can't two things happen at one time?
Well, as I said, I'm all for repairing the damage of a legacy of slavery, Jim Crow segregation, things like this. What I would do is focus on, if you want to study something, I would focus on studying the present day structural inequities, study the laws and policies that created those structural inequities, that created the harm, and trace that back to slavery. I personally, and I've said this repeatedly over and over again, I would not put the term reparations on anything that you actually want to get past. When you are a minority population, when you're dealing with an anti-black society, no, we got to, Roland, you're smarter than me. Why do most slaves that run away at nighttime and not in the daytime?
That's true.
Why do most slaves run away at nighttime and not in the daytime? Because they knew they had a better chance of staying gone if they ran away at night. I'm saying we got to learn how to run away at nighttime. Okay? Hell no, don't put. And the other thing that we have to learn how to do is show how the policies that disproportionately positively benefit black people are good for everybody. That reduces opposition. Didn't say it eliminates opposition, but it reduces opposition. Too many of our people get caught on the reparations treadmill and keep running around generation year after year after year doing the same damn thing. No, we haven't figured this out. I'm all for repairing the damage. Focus on present day structural inequities. Focus on housing disparities. Focus on educational disparities.
Got it.
Like this. When you do your study,
I got it.
Because I've read some of those harm studies.
I got
Trace that back to the policies that go and trace that back to slavery.
Final comment from Derek. Final comment from Morgan. Then I'm going to a break.
Roland, Adam Clayton Powell, Thurgood Marshall, Dr. King, and all the others who were part of the civil rights movement, they didn't create something else. They used the Constitution. They used the language from the Constitution. They didn't create a new word. They didn't deviate. They said the Constitution. And so all I'm saying, if we're going to go back to the past and look at the ills of this country, then we just say Abraham Lincoln and everybody else in 1862 used a form, and it's called reparation.
Morgan.
And I'll just make a very practical point that if at some point, and this kind of builds off of what you're saying, Michael, is the goal, you're trying to actually, based on law, make a case for why there should be economic return, then you need some information about what that harm has looked like. That can be a big effort if you're just an individual citizen. Even if you find a lawyer who's willing to represent you, they're going to have to take on all that risk for themselves. Right. This is shifting that burden to the state that has more resources to gather that information and can be the basis for further legal action.
And no, that's it.
What?
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. That's
all
it.
Right.
I done let this damn thing go as far as I'm going to let it go. I'm going to a damn break. Okay? That's it.
Visit my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for this new 10-week online course. So we're going to teach this on Sundays, normally 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're running late today. So as soon as I finish this broadcast, I was going to start the class about 5:30 p.m. today. Because it's a holiday weekend, I'm going to do a quick introduction to the class so you could join us for that. Class is on sale, $80. You get 5 of my lectures free in digital download format, okay, when you register for this as well. Click right here, register here. You can do debit card, credit card, what have you. If you want to do it through Cash App, send it through our Cash App is here, $ the AHN show through Cash App. You click on the link. It takes you here. And if you send it through Cash App, follow it up with an email. You can email me through the website right here. Contact the African History Network at the top. If you send it through Cash App, follow up with an email. Let me know you sent the registration through Cash App. And this is our official Cash App account, $ the AHN show, SHOW. When you go to it, it'll say Michael. These are some fake African History Network Cash App accounts that have been stealing money from us. I'm still trying to get them shut down. Here's our PayPal link right here. Also, okay. So this is African empires, the Moors, and the transatlantic slave trade, 5000 BC to 1800 AD. Okay, so this is a new 10-week online course that I'm teaching. I've been teaching online history classes going back to 2017, and I put these classes together, put together the curriculum. There are about 200 slides in this class, 80 to 100 articles that we reference, 15 books. You don't have to buy any of the books. I'll show you screenshots of the book as well. The content is PG-13. You can use this with your children, okay? And it's very engaging. It is interactive also. There's a class chat, so you can ask me questions in the class also. You can see me, I can't see you, so you don't have to worry about that. Also, you can support the African History Network through PayPal and Cash App. We have the information right on the homepage of my website. If you scroll down, $ the AHN show through Cash App and through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. This is our Cash App. Tag $ the AHN show, SHOW. When you go to it, it'll say Michael and show my picture there. Okay, these are some fake African History Network Cash App accounts that have been stealing money from us. And I put our tag right here. Here's our link to our Cash App QR code. Okay, so you can support us there if you want to donate support us $5, $10, $15, $25, $50, $100, whatever it is. It definitely helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, pay some of the bills, and broadcast the Sunday night show also. And here's our link for PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. Okay. All right. So look, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win.